This is the Hunt, Fish, Conserve podcast, hosted by Ethan Evans
and Tyler Swenson.
Today we'll be on the topic of foraging in the Midwest, discussing what to look for, what's edible, the importance of knowing what you are harvesting.
So a quick safety disclaimer, definitely do your research before you pick or eat any of the things we're going to talk about in this podcast. A lot of these items you're going to find out in the woods or find out in a ditch. And especially all of this is going on during turkey season. And I've ran into hunters before out mushroom hunting. I felt real bad, but
yeah, I mean, you just got to be conscious of, like, if you see somebody else out at, like, the trailhead or at where the parking spot is, I mean, you just got to realize they might not be mushroom hunting. They might also be turkey hunting. So just be respectful about that. And, like, I probably won't go out walking around in, like, camo or wearing a turkey head out there.
No, because it was pretty unfortunate. I was just going out mushroom hunting just like any other day and started walking out into the woods, me and a buddy, and all of a sudden we look over and we're like, it looks like a pile of leaves, and he goes, "Hello?" And the turkey hunter's like, "Yeah." And we're like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, man, because I'm not out to wreck anybody's hunt or anything. It happens, though."
I mean, I guess a good story to say is, like, what the safety disclaimer was, we ran into our first fake morel this year.
Yeah, we did.
Because, I mean, like, I don't know if you thought, but I've heard people say it, and I just kind of thought it was like BS kind of when I thought about it before.
Yeah, because I see it on Facebook all the time, and I always think, we're never going to run into something like that.
Yeah.
And here it was, it was growing next to an elm.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was exactly where you'd see one, like down kind of like a swampy, marshy kind of place.
Yeah, and it definitely looked a little off the top of it, or I don't know what the correct terminology is for it, but it wasn't normal like the other ones we see around here.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to, like, scare anybody away, but, like, if that probably would have been my first time ever mushroom hunting, like, I would have been like been conscious of it, because it does look different than everything else, but just like with that first time going out, you get to be really careful about those too.
Yeah, and I guess with the disclaimer, foraging and mushroom hunting, like you said, Ethan, it's nothing we're not trying to scare you. Just be conscious of what you're picking. Go and do a lot of research, or even go with somebody who's done it quite a bit before, because they know what they're looking for, and they'll usually bring you to the spot and say, this is, once you see a morel for the first time on the ground, you'll never forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. And also with that, when we're talking about just hunting in general, you know, if you're your first time mushroom hunter, it's a really good way to get out and just kind of explore some local woods that you might never walk through, and just like for scouting for like deer season ahead of time, or even turkey season. So
yeah, and for me, it's just fun being out in the woods. I really enjoy it, smelling the fresh spring air, and I don't know, like you said, you see a lot of spots you usually don't see. I walk all over where we live looking for mushrooms. Sometimes there's not a lot of success, but it's fun putting some miles on.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but, like, honestly, if it wasn't for mushrooms, I don't know if I would have really walked in a lot of those places before.
No, you see a lot of neat things out there. I mean, just in little old Iowa. So I guess let's get into the mushroom hunting. We've been talking about it for a little bit here, but specifics,
like, that's the number one thing people forage for, right? Like, that's like when people think about foraging or mushroom hunting, it's morels is like the main thing.
Yeah, because the first thing you think of, if you've never been into it, I'm sure, is like, hey, I'm gonna go mushroom hunting, and you know a little about it. You're gonna be like, oh, morels. It's pretty competitive out there.
Yeah, like, how much pressure is there really out there?
I know the spots that I hunt. The problem is all the retired guys, which I get. I would do the same. They're out there during the day when I'm at work, picking mushrooms and foraging for mushrooms, and then I get off of work, and in my head I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go out mushroom hunting, and usually don't have much success that ways. But on the weekends is when I really get them.
But I think, like, also, like, I think there's a strong distinction to be made between foraging and, like, mushroom hunting, because I think, like, mushroom hunting is like you're competing with a lot of people, and it's not just like you go outside and it's like buttloads there.
Yeah,
like, you're kicking around, you're putting miles, and, like, what's the average? Like, how many miles do you think you walk on average on a weekend?
On one weekend or one day?
Or one day, I guess I should say.
One day, I probably walk at least 3 miles through the woods.
Yeah, which is quite a bit because like I mean our parcels of land like aren't huge by any means, but
No, they're not. And especially, I'm not successful all the time mushroom hunting. The thing with me is you don't find one tree, go to the next. Don't find some in one spot, drive to the next, get out of your car and walk a little more.
yeah, I mean like I think the biggest thing too is like especially like when I first started and went with you, like I think I had a bad perception of it where I was like kind of getting discouraged pretty easily. But like some of those really experienced guys like can go seasons without some.
Oh yeah, last season was a really bad season. I don't think I think I found 3 mushrooms, 3 or 4, but they were really big. They probably stood. Well, I gave you one.
Yeah.
They probably stood 10 inches tall or
That was
something
a
like
huge
that.
one. Yeah.
Biggest morel I've ever found.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience. But I think something else that's kind of off topic, but what Tyler and I are gonna start doing too this year with training for backcountry hunts. I think we're gonna take our packs and just put some weight in them and ruck around with them too.
Yeah,
it's kind of like killing 2 birds with 1 stone again.
it's definitely a good way of training yourself. And I got new boots. You just got new boots, and it's gonna be a really good way of putting miles on those boots because I want to get a lot of miles on before we actually go out there.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not super similar country, but I mean, it's definitely better than like walking a local track. I would say.
Oh, for sure, because it doesn't seem like it, but especially getting through some of the brush and some of it does get kind of hilly back in those woods.
Oh yeah,
battling those. I mean, it sounds stupid because it's Iowa, but
yeah, no, like I don't think people really understand. But yeah, there is definitely some little elevation change here and there.
yeah, I mean, I'm tired after a day of mushroom hunting.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that you went with me not last season, but the season before too, right?
yeah, I did. Yep.
Yeah, and we got into a pretty good patch that one day, but that's about all we saw that season as well.
Yeah, but like I mean, like when we first came across those, because I mean, I think we walked right by that spot before.
Yeah, I think we this little plot of woods that I hunt all the time. I mean, you've seen it. We kind of go in a loop. You go around the edge of the shoreline and then kind of scour the middle and then walk out.
Right. Yeah.
And it was when we were walking out.
Yeah, because I was like kind of bummed. I mean, like you just after like everything, it's like one tree or one bush or one elm all looks the same. Or like I don't even know what I'm looking for anymore. And then like
Yeah.
before you know it, like you find them and you're just like, oh my god, like no way, and like you don't even know like how it happened.
And it's funny too because, like you said, you're bummed out. You know, you've just put on maybe a mile already, and you're tired, bummed out, didn't find any mushrooms, and you find that first mushroom, and then you start looking around left and right, and there's just mushrooms like crazy. It's like they're popping up as you're looking for them, but
Yeah.
they're all there hiding somewhere.
I guess like just some crazy stuff that you said about morels is like they are just kind of like still like a very mystical or like mysterious like mushroom.
They are, because I don't know how much. I guess the truth of it is, now that I think of it, maybe is if you don't pick it that first day, it's probably not going to be there the next day.
Yeah, and like
And they just pop up overnight.
yeah, and that's like not just saying that like there's somebody else coming to pick them. Like they might not be there tomorrow. There's something weird happens. There's something not even eat some. It's just like they're just not there.
Yeah, it's something everybody can't really figure out. I know I've seen some people growing them in like perfect conditions.
Right.
But I don't think many people have caught on to it because it is, from what I understand, it is really hard to grow morels. Even people buying spores and throwing them out in the backyard and giving it the perfect condition, buy a dead tree, buy a dead elm, and
What's the average price for like a pound of morels?
probably $40 to $50.
Which is crazy.
That is crazy.
So like just like putting this like in a perspective they can understand. Like what's the average morel size you'd say? How tall?
Probably 6 inches.
6 inches, yeah.
You find a lot smaller than that, probably 4 inches, but
So if you could put how many number of morels like in that pound you'd say?
oh, that's tough because
Kind of like all vary, I know, in size, but
yeah, it all varies in size, but I don't think it's as much as you would think.
yeah, like I think people think like, oh, pound, like that's a lot. Like
Yeah.
no, like really you're not getting much for that pound at
No.
the end of the day.
And the good thing about morels is you can eat the whole thing. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole thing tastes the same, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, like I guess like what's like your favorite way to cook them?
I would say I put them in an egg wash and then put them in some flour, and then I batter them and some breadcrumbs or whatever, and then I just fry them in a pan with some butter.
Yeah, like we've both done it the same way where like we just put it like butter and just a morel.
Yeah.
That's good too.
And I fried them with some eggs last year, with some like eggs and mushrooms, because they say they taste like steak, and I think so.
I think they do too, which is like a really, like when you told me that, I was like, okay, like I've had plenty of mushrooms, like no way this tastes like steak. But like honestly, I think it's pretty true.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fungi, you know, that's what people think. Oh, it's just a fungi, but it is phenomenal. If you haven't hunted for mushrooms, go out and look for them.
Yeah, I mean,
not everybody's willing to help because it is kind of secret. Yeah. I even have a hard time telling my buddies where the spots are.
But I mean, even with like mushroom, you know, kind of back to morels, I mean, you can get like pretty creative. Like anything you'd use a regular mushroom for, you could use a morel for. And it's even gonna taste better than that regular mushroom. Like I've seen people throw it on pizzas, and you get as wild as you want with them. So
I want to try some morel mushroom pizza.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to try like a homemade one, like homemade pizza with some morels on it this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping this year is going to be better because last year I think the problem was we didn't have enough moisture in the ground, and it kind of happened later too.
Yeah,
I mean this year it's pretty warm right now, and it's what's the date today? May 28th or something like that.
May 28th, yeah.
And no, it's not May.
No, I mean March.
March. But anyways,
so I guess like when is a good time to like even start like thinking about going to look out for morels?
What I've heard and from my experience is when the lilacs start blooming.
Yeah.
And I think I read online today it's when the ground hits like 53 degrees in temperature, they start popping up like 50 degrees consistently at night, and then it's got to get pretty warm during the day. Like once it starts hitting 70, 80 degrees, be out there.
Yeah. And like a good, like if you don't really want to follow all that stuff, and like kind of like the more hardcore people like we are kind of follow that, but people I know kind of say like generally like mid-April to late April is kind of a good way to like kind of start and just putting your boots on the ground. So.
Yeah. And I pretty much what I base mine when I'm gonna go out is I follow this morel page on Facebook. I don't know if you follow them.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
and they post often. It's kind of fun watching because they post county by state, and it's like you can see the morels creeping up towards Iowa, just creeping. All of a sudden, it's the next county, and then it's the next county.
And I mean, like maybe people like really unexperienced, like are exposed to it, but I mean, there's a lot of people even in that group. I think it's like 40,000 people or something crazy like that.
Yeah, it's a pretty big community, and it's fun to watch on there too. People will post all the time like, "Hey, I'm new to mushroom hunting. Can anybody? I'll pay you to bring me to your spots." And nobody's willing to help out, which I understand.
Yeah, no, I understand too. Yeah,
I mean, I'm all for helping out new people, but once you tell one guy, then the next guy's hunting your spot, then the next guy's hunting your spot, and soon enough you've got 6 people hunting the same spot.
Yeah, and then that gets burned pretty quick. So
yeah, so keep your spots a secret. That's pretty big when mushroom hunting or being successful in mushroom hunting.
I mean, like I guess when people think like mushrooms, it's like morels and like what other kind of mushrooms are out there? I mean, there's a lot of variety out there.
Yeah, because I didn't have much success hunting morels last year, there's a bunch of pheasant backs, they're called, that grow around where we live, and I experimented with that a little bit, and they're pretty meaty. You got to get them when they're really young, because I started harvesting the big ones because it was kind of late in the season, and I wanted some mushrooms, so I had to settle for something, and they just got really meaty and really tough. It's weird.
Yeah, I guess I've never really tried them. I guess we'll have to try some this year and look for them.
Yeah, I fried them in some butter, and I fried the shit out of them. I accidentally did, but it was like a fry. It was pretty good. Just put some salt on them.
I guess I just kind of wonder like how many people walk by those pheasant backs, like because they're just like so zoned in on morel.
Oh yeah, and they're all over the place too. Yeah. Not many people eat them, if anybody at all around here. But there's chicken of the woods. I've heard a lot of people.
Yeah, I've heard people really rave about that one.
Yeah, supposedly tastes like chicken. I guess. I mean, that's what people say about everything, but I want to know how much truth there is to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we'll have to experiment more with this year too. I mean, I think you got a blog coming out soon, right, about this topic?
Yeah, I'm currently writing a blog. I know more about morel morel hunting than other varieties of mushrooms because, like Ethan said, I'm so tunnel visioned on morels. I could be walking past all these delicious and other mushrooms that are edible. There's a lot of poisonous mushrooms out there too, but there's a lot of good edible mushrooms that people just often walk by because they're so tunneled in on morels.
I mean, would you still? I mean, I'd probably say that morels are probably still on like top of the pedestal, right?
Oh yeah, if you had a morel and chicken of the woods sitting right by each other, and someone was like, "You can only pick one," I'm gonna pick a morel.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, like, but there is a lot of different other good things out there. Like, it just a morel is at such a next level than everything else out there.
Yeah, so I guess in that blog, I'm gonna be writing more about different variety of mushrooms around northern Iowa and kind of my research going along with it because I don't know as much about those other varieties of mushrooms, and we're kind of be learning together.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm going to take a lot from that too. But, I think if we are successful with harvesting some of that stuff, I think we're going to try to show some videos of us cooking some stuff with that.
Yeah, for sure. Because there's a lot of good recipes out there.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of good recipes. Yeah.
Better than frying in butter, believe it or not.
Yeah, we're pretty basic, but we're going to get a little more experimental this year, I guess.
That must be a northern Iowa thing because everybody fries everything in butter.
Yeah.
All my fish growing up was fried in butter or fried in oil.
Yep.
And I love baked fish, but I still go back to it.
I know what you mean. Yep.
It's so good. But let's go on to some of the other foraging items around the area.
Yeah, some that like aren't necessarily always like in the woods and kind of like in different places than what a normal person would think.
Yeah, because like I said multiple times, since the last season sucked, it wasn't very good at all. I dove into ramps. I was seeing these things all over the ground, and I was on that Facebook page and someone's like, "Oh, look what I got."
Yeah.
A bunch of ramps, and people were commenting like, "No way, where's your patch? Where's your patch?" And I was like, "Man, I'm seeing these all over the woods." I passed by a whole big patch of them earlier today. So I went back out and harvested a bunch of them.
Did they eat it?
No, not today. I'm talking about like this was me last season.
I was like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah, no, not today.
Okay. But like, where do ramps fall on like the taste level or scale with all the other mushrooms?
Well, I guess they're better related to like onions because they say they have a similar taste of like onions and garlic.
Oh, really?
In the same bulb, I guess you could say, because the bulb kind of looks like a green onion bulb. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, and people often cook the whole leaf and the whole bulb like on the grill. It's really good.
Wait, then like what do they do with it? Like, they just eat it like that?
You just eat it like that.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like using it like as you would an onion.
No, I mean, I guess you could.
Oh, okay.
But I made a bunch of ramp butter. Me and my girlfriend did.
Butter?
Yeah, compound butter. It was something. I think it was salted butter, ramps, and then we put some lemon zest or something in it too. So it's like a lemony, garlicky, oniony butter.
What'd you use that butter with?
Most of the time, when you grill a steak and then you put a little slice of butter over the top.
Right.
That's what I do. So it just melts over your steak.
Oh, okay.
And it's really good. Leaves a fresh oniony taste on it.
Wow, so you're like really getting like a full use out of the woods. Like full like 360 of it.
Yeah. I mean, my goal is to kind of use all of the things I hunt for. You know, you get a nice duck breast and cook it up like a steak, and then you take your ramps that you got last season foraging, made it into butter, and now I'm going to put that butter on my duck that I just killed.
Dang, it's like you're living like life below zero in Iowa.
Yeah,
like
I know.
Living like in like a remote Alaska here, just trying to live off the land.
Yeah, it's definitely just the start. There's way more opportunity just around us than we even know about.
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that gets overlooked. I mean, you got like someone like if you interviewed probably like the majority of people, they probably don't know what a morel is.
No,
or they never even had, or they might know what one is, but they've probably never even tasted one.
No, and the thing is too, someone asked me today, like, well, I don't even think they're like, I don't even think morels are that hype. And I was like, and I kind of said, I responded as like, well, I guess I could see where you're coming from, but the whole idea of it is, as just as well as I do, you go days on days without finding anywhere else, and then you keep hunting and hunting, and all of a sudden you find them, and you're like, oh my god, you treat it like gold.
Oh,
You,
yeah.
and then you bring it home and enjoy it. It's way, way better than just a morel if you were to buy it from the store.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of like falls in like the whole thing of like hunting or fishing. Like, yeah, I could go buy a salmon from Walmart, or I could go buy duck meat from Walmart, but like I don't want to. Like,
No.
I don't. I know it's like heavily processed and stuff, but like I like the chase.
Yeah, for sure. And
like-
a lot of people argue that it tastes the same too.
Yeah, and like I mean, even if like you went out and got morels every day, it probably wouldn't be as fun as like those days you go without some.
No, I probably wouldn't be into it as much as I am.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of falls like in the same playing field as like fishing or hunting and all that kind of stuff. It's like the whole like challenge of it, and you're always trying to like get better at it, which may sound like dumb to say, but like there is a skill level that comes with this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I went out and could catch 1,000,000 trout every day, I probably wouldn't be trout fishing anymore.
No, yeah, exactly. You'd be bored with it. So
yeah, it's just one of those things, and I don't know if I'd pay $50 a pound for morel mushrooms,
yeah.
But that's what he asked me too, and I was like, yeah, I probably wouldn't pay $50 a pound for him. A lot of people do though.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I mean, it's kind of like caviar. It's just like a weird thing, you know. It's like weird to think that like people, it's like such put on a pedestal than everything else, but it is.
Oh yeah, and it's funny, driving to. I have multiple spots that I go looking for them, and you drive past one. Oh shoot, there's a person there already. Drive past the next one. Gosh, there's a person there. And you go past a couple spots to find some. There's a bunch of people always out looking.
Yeah, I mean, like I think it's like people are looking for something just to add to their arsenal to do and get them outside. I think, foraging is a very good way to go about doing that.
Yeah. Another thing I kind of was out of my elements. My girlfriend one day was like, "Oh, we should try dandelions," and I'm like, "Dandelions? What the hell would you want to eat a dandelion for?"
Yeah, what the hell? Yeah.
I mean, you've never thought about eating a dandelion,
No,
I'm
I've always
sure.
just mowed over them.
Yeah,
that's the only time I ever thought about dandelion.
I always try to get rid of them because Mom hates them in the lawn.
Yeah.
But we went out and we picked the flower part off of it, and it was something she saw online or something, and we breaded it like you would anything else and then fried it. It was like a fried pickle or something.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Like it had a pickle taste or no?
Not necessarily a pickle taste, but kind of that same.
Like kind of like, I know what you're kind of getting along with. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just fried it up. You couldn't tell it was a dandelion once you had it all fried up. Dipped it in ranch. It was amazing.
Did you fry it like you do everything else, like with an egg wash and flour and stuff like that? Or
yeah, for sure. And I guess you could argue that you could fry a turd and it would be good, but no, it was something I normally wouldn't do, but it was awesome. I couldn't believe it.
The next time I got a bunch of dandelions, just have you come over and cut them?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to come harvest your old dandelion patch, but no, if you're ever willing to go out and try something new for anybody, just go out and pick a couple dandelions and fry them up. It's really good.
How much are those going for a pound?
I don't think anybody will pay it for a pound of those. Go out to the county ditch and get a whole bunch of them. I wouldn't advise picking them from a county ditch, though.
No, I mean that
with all that spray, all those chemicals they spray in there.
I guess talking about ditches, I guess that's kind of another thing that you've always done too. Oh, your dad has done with you as well.
Yeah, Dad, ditch asparagus. Have you ever been looking for ditch asparagus?
No, I didn't even know it was a thing till I started hanging out with you.
Really?
Or I think I was going fishing one day and I come across your dad and I was like, "What's he doing out here?" He was on some low gravel road and he's like, "Oh, looking for asparagus," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
I mean, let's go to Walmart, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know asparagus in these ditches.
I didn't either. Dad was out with one of his buddies and he brought some home and I'm like, "Oh, where'd you get this?" Well, out in the ditch.
Yeah, because I mean, this asparagus is a lot different than what you get at Walmart. It's not taste wise necessarily, but taste, thickness and the looks of it.
Yeah, because they say, I think the ones you get from Walmart most of the time, they say you're not supposed to pick them if they're thinner than a pencil. That's what they always say. And those farms, they're harvesting and harvesting and harvesting.
Yeah,
that crown. It's you should see the root system on these plants. we recently moved a plant at our house, and it was probably like a 2 foot by 2 foot section, 1.5 feet deep.
Yeah, it's like a tree, right?
And it was all roots. There was barely any dirt in there. I mean, it was all roots, dead and alive roots. The plant's been there for forever, probably 30 years.
Yeah.
And we separated a section that big into probably, when I say crowns, it's like it's a crown and then it comes off in roots. We sectioned it into probably 10 different plants.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, but no, getting back to the ditch asparagus. Yeah, Dad brought it home and I was like, "You found that out in the ditch?" And he's like, "Yeah, I found it out in the ditch driving around." So I'm like, "I'm going to go drive around." And what you look for is just the dead plants from last year.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to catch them at the right time. And it's kind of when it starts heating up. But I find more asparagus than I know what to do with.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like a sleeper one for a lot of people.
Yeah, not many know. I mean, I didn't know that asparagus grew out in the ditch.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah. Especially like around us, it's like, oh, asparagus, like we talking about corn, soybeans, that's it.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people think of when they think of Iowa, but it's crazy. There's a lot of good patches anywhere. I mean, just be on the lookout when you're on the gravel roads. I mean, it grows. I was on the interstate. I don't know where it was to last year, but I probably saw 20 different asparagus plants growing by the interstate.
You always got your eye in the ditch or something, looking around for stuff.
They were in the median.
That's crazy.
It was wild. I was gonna get out of my car and pick those patches.
Put your flashers on and just go out and pick them.
Yeah. I don't think they'd be very happy with me about that. Maybe. I don't know. But have I ever gave you any ditch asparagus?
No, I haven't.
I'll have to give you some.
You have to try some.
Because I feel like it tastes better.
You just prepare it the same way you do other asparagus? Or
Yeah, we usually grill it in a vegetable packet on the grill, or
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Bake it, wrap it in bacon, and it's super good. And I feel like it's almost better because it's picked at the right time.
Yeah.
You know, people farming for asparagus, you kind of push the limits of your own plants, I guess you could say, just to get product out there. I don't know how it works, but when you get asparagus and it's a little woody.
Yep.
This asparagus, it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It just melts in your mouth.
Yeah. And like talking about the whole thing with like safety with that, even like you don't really have to, since it is such early spring and like the county isn't out spraying, like you don't have to worry about chemicals and that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously be aware of it, but
yeah, definitely be aware of it. We wash all of our asparagus, but because you don't want to eat any raw asparagus out of the ditch. You probably don't want to eat anything raw out of the ditch.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You got to make sure like when you're doing that kind of stuff, even morels, and all that kind of stuff, you should really take extra precaution with.
Yeah, because the morels, especially, they're hollow in the middle all the way up, and just wash them out because there's often bugs living in them or something. They make a good home.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a fish fillet or a duck breast. Like you just want to take extra precaution getting all that other stuff that you don't want to eat out of it.
Yeah, always wash whatever you forage for.
Yeah, that's a good tip for sure.
That's what I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't go out and pick a morel and start eating them as you're walking out of the forest by any means.
No, definitely not. But I guess going back to morels, I guess we'd never really covered how you look for them.
Oh yeah, like where to look for them and stuff.
Yeah,
that's a good thing to get into.
Because what did you think when I was like, "Oh, Ethan, let's go morel hunting"?
Well, that's like the first thing was like, like I've hunted like deer and ducks before. It's like, oh, well, you look for a sign or you look for the track or this and that. It's like, what are we gonna look for when we look on a mushroom?
Yeah.
It's like, what does a mushroom leave behind that I can find? It's like, just shitting in the woods? It's not. It's like, I don't know what we're looking for, Ty.
Yeah.
I kind of just thought we kind of tromped around looking for wherever we could find one.
And being that new to it, I remember when I was new to it, it's like, is this a morel?
Yeah.
No, that's not a morel.
Yeah.
But dead elms. And people always ask me, what does a dead elm look like? How would you describe it as from such a new perspective?
Dead tree.
Dead tree.
Yeah.
I guess to add on top of that, dead tree and it kind of looks white. It's hard to tell after a good rain.
Yeah. I still have a tough time telling. Like, I do a lot of my mushroom hunting with you, so it's like I'm still really new to it, and like you kind of help point it out. But
Yeah, because I know it's often sometimes you're like, is that a morel or is that a dead elm? And
Yeah.
no, that's not a dead elm.
Yeah.
You just kind of get the eye for it.
Because they are a smaller tree, right? Am I thinking correctly?
Yeah,
Most of the elms are.
yeah, because I don't know when it was, like what date specifically, but back then there was a big disease that
Right.
went
Yeah.
through Iowa or something, killed a bunch of elms off, and so there's a bunch of dead elms around.
Yeah, that's something like, I mean, we've had a lot of success around elms, like around us, but like I've also seen, like, because I looked it up before, and like, because you can find morels in a lot of different places throughout the Midwest, and even as you move out west, and like it's kind of a controversial thing on like where you find them. Some people say certain types of trees, like elms is definitely the most popular one, but
Mm-hmm.
I've heard other people say like other types of trees in other places, and
Yeah, and I don't know the specifics of that because remember I was telling you about I was mowing a buddy's lawn. I was just
yeah,
mowing their lawn and it was a nice summer day. I was enjoying myself and all of a sudden I looked down and there's a smashed morel right by me and I'm like, what the heck? So I stopped the lawnmower right there, got out. There's a whole morel patch out in the middle of the lawn.
yeah, which is just super weird because it's like, man, I just spent like 5 miles yesterday looking around for these, and now they're right by my mower.
Yeah, like what's going on there? So I'm definitely going back to his house to.
Yeah. Well, that's something I was talking about too. Is like if you do find a patch, like using something like Onyx Hunt or any kind of like mapping something where you can like mark it, they're gonna be there. There's a good chance like that they're gonna be there next year. Like
Yeah.
a lot of your spots you go to, right, are
Yeah.
spots that you've harvested before.
Yeah, for sure.
Like when you say spots, it's kind of like what you're saying more.
Yeah. Take note of where you found them the year before because if you treat it right, go back and they'll probably be there the next year.
I guess like what do you mean when you say treat it right? Like I kind of know, but like for our listeners' perspective.
I guess I've always saw on that Facebook page, I don't know what the proper practice is, but a lot of people say cut it off at the stem with a knife.
Yeah.
Because then you're not, I mean, there's not much of a root there. Obviously, it's a mushroom, but then you're not totally ripping that whole mushroom out of the ground.
Yeah, and like that's something that's just like it's one of those things like we don't know how much is really behind it or like science, but like
Yeah.
I just feel like
and I don't think many people do.
no, I don't think people do, and like just doing stuff like that can increase our likelihood. Like I'm gonna do it.
And one thing that can increase the likelihood that they'll be there the next year is I will admit sometimes it's a bad habit of just grabbing a plastic bag and going out because it's easy, but grab a bag that's got little holes. I mean,
Like perforated holes or something.
yeah, perforated holes, not something that where your mushrooms are going to fall out of your bag. But I've seen videos of spores. The mushroom spores are releasing so fast that in a really good quality camera close up, you can see the spores jumping off the mushrooms.
Yeah, which is just crazy. So I mean, you're kind of just in some ways you're kind of like planting morels throughout the forest. I mean,
Yeah, you're just seeding.
yeah, seeding the forest.
Essentially seeding the forest as you're walking, looking for more morels.
And like something else, like that's just things that we do to increase our likelihood. It's definitely like not like a bunch of like hard firm science behind all this stuff, but
No, because I've probably been morel hunting for, I don't know, 10 years. I do it a lot by myself because, like I said, I have a hard time telling people where my spots are. I think you're the first friend that I brought out to my spots.
yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fun being with another person, having an extra set of eyes because we're both honest about it. I'm not going to keep mushrooms from you, or if I find 40 of them, I'm not going to leave you with nothing, you know? So just, it's honest work.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that like, yeah, it's not like you're just giving me like, hey, Ethan, like go look over there while I harvest these mushrooms.
Yeah, and definitely looking out for the right elements in the woods and treating the mushrooms right, I would say, is giving yourself a better chance of finding more mushrooms in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that just kind of comes back to like, there's a lot of stuff out there that you can eat, and that a lot of stuff that will just improve your cooking while using some of that foraging material that you are getting from the forest. I mean, like what you said before, like it is just kind of like a full encompass of like you harvesting meat, but you're also like harvesting like vegetables too.
Yep.
And like other kind of fungi and stuff.
And I guess that going off of treating all these items right, another thing with the ramp patch is you don't want to don't harvest all that the whole patch totally out, because otherwise they're not going to be there the next year. If you find a patch, maybe grab a couple and move on to the next patch. There's going to be another one.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just a matter of keeping these plants where they're at. They're going to reproduce, and they're going to treat you right if you treat them right.
How about like, I know like we don't have like, this is all like really like secular perspective, but like, do you think there's like a lot of morels like 100 years ago?
Oh, I don't know, because
Like if there wasn't so much of like what we're doing to the environment and stuff, that like maybe there were morels back then, or
that'd be fun to look into.
yeah.
Because I've heard stories of, when I was first getting into it, I've heard stories of guys going to a patch and they'll find upwards of 100 morels in one patch.
Yeah, and like I don't know how to say this. I don't think it's necessarily like a matter of like conservation by any means. I think it's like less like more of like a habitat loss.
Yeah,
Less place for them to grow more so.
and it makes me wonder, is it that, or is it like that mysterious factor that we've talked about? You don't know if there's going to be 40 there or 2.
Right, yeah. Or 0.
Yeah, or 0.
Yeah.
It's crazy, because another thing, if you find a morel out in the woods, don't stop looking. There's definitely going to be another one there.
Yeah. And like this is like when you, and like it might sound weird, but like you kind of want to be on your hands and knees, like, slowly like pushing stuff around, like being really diligent, because like you've said it before, like how many have you stepped on?
Oh, multiple.
Yeah.
And it just pisses you off.
Yeah, that's just like crushing you. Yeah.
Because like we said, it's like gold. And yeah, watch where you're stepping when you find that first mushroom, because there's multiple around you.
I think, that's something else we're just going to start, I think I really want to show that, like, because I think you do a lot more foraging than I do, and a lot more than like probably even most to the average person who are under 65 years old. They're retired.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, like, I think we should definitely start showing some of that stuff you're cooking up and what you're doing with it.
It'd be fun to show on our channel us using, maybe we go out and shoot an elk.
Yeah.
Us using that meat and cooking a dish with it involving ramps, or maybe even some wild berries we find out in the woods. There's a lot of wild berries that grow around here.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
Because on one of the islands at a local lake of ours, there's a plum tree on it.
Yeah, which is just weird.
It's weird. When the retired guy who lived next to my grandpa, he always used to bring me island, and we were getting a little snackish. We'd go to the island and get a plum.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I guess you've been foraging a lot longer than I have, so I guess I don't have any really great stories to share, but like, do you have any stories to share about just foraging in general, or anything funny to share, or cool experiences out there?
I guess a cool experience was when like I said, when you find your first mushroom, it's like, I don't know, you're on top of the world. I remember I was really little, and my grandpa's neighbor said to me, he's like, "You want to go mushroom hunting?" And I was like, "Mushroom hunting?
Yeah.
What's mushroom hunting?" And I thought, this is gonna suck. So we go out on the boat and go to a local spot, and when you find that first mushroom, like I said, it was on top of the world. I looked here and there was another one. I looked to the right and there's another one. And then I walked 2 steps further and there's 30 more.
Yeah.
And the biggest patch I probably found was probably 30 or 40 mushrooms. And I was really young. I mean, it was amazing.
Would you put that experience like at the same level of like you shooting your first deer or like duck hunting? Or is it that high for you or not?
For me, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
I don't know how it rates with other people. Like, what'd you think of when you found your first mushroom?
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, definitely because like, but I don't think I put enough boots on the ground to like really get into it. Like, like with deer hunting, like I'm still looking for my first deer. So like, like that first is really gonna be special because all the time I've been in the woods. Or like when the first time we went, it was like within the first or second time we got lucky.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I don't feel like I really earned it. So maybe the more I do it, and the probably seems counterintuitive to say, but like the less success I have, maybe the more I'll like it. So.
Yeah, because it's definitely a different high. Because I would say catching, it's a tough day on the stream and you finally catch that trout.
Yeah.
That's a different high than been a tough day out in the woods, and then finally late season you get that buck.
Yeah.
Or something. But to me, it's all a really good, I guess you could say, high. Like I feel on top of the world when I finally find that first mushroom for the year, but it's also, I don't know. I'd say that first duck of the year is way better than finding a mushroom, but
Yeah, but like,
since it's the season, I just love it. I can't get enough of it.
I think this is like something that's like really important to say is like it kind of encompasses you as like a full outdoorsman in some ways. I mean, like I think people think that outdoorsman like hunting and fishing, which is like it's a big part of it. But like there's this whole other world out there. It's like called foraging.
Yeah,
and like knowing how to like identify that stuff and how to like make use of it.
Because there are so many more plants that we did not discuss that you can eat around here. Like I have a foraging book that it has cattails in it.
Yeah, yeah.
You can eat a cattail?
Yeah, which is
I haven't done much research on it, but
yeah, I mean, like I was actually reading that Meat Eater like wilderness survival book that he just released, and like he had like a whole like a 40 pages talking about stuff you could eat like in a survival situation. Like,
yeah,
I didn't know that stuff. Like it's pretty crazy. But
no, and it's a lot of it's stuff that I want to research and definitely I want to try. I mean, even if it sucks, I'm not gonna go out and get it again, but at least I tried it because there are so many different things that we can eat around here.
Yeah, I just feel like it's like a lot of things. It's like public perception of certain things that, you know, like, oh, morels really aren't that good because they're not being farmed or this and that. Like, no, they are still really good.
Like that local restaurant in Fertile, I can't.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
But I was told that they take in like foraged items and they cook with those items.
Oh, that's really cool, yeah.
You know, you can eat a thistle.
No, I didn't know that. No.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Apparently you can eat them and they're great.
Huh.
I'd never thought about that because that's one of those things you had to put a glove on just to get it out of your garden.
Right.
And you're going to stick it in your mouth.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's just something that's like, it kind of opens your world up to a whole different, like a whole new world, really. Like, it's like, I mean, like, from like the little I've done of foraging, probably like, especially like what you've done, it's kind of really opened your eyes to the outdoors.
Yeah.
And like what's really out there.
It's definitely made me respect it more.
Yeah.
Because there's so much more that the woods has to offer than just deer.
Yeah. A deer, waterfowl, or like this and that. It's like, it's not just a meat ecosystem by any means.
Yeah. Like I love my meat just as much as the next guy, but foraging for me is definitely something to do in the off season. I don't have much going on for the outdoors in the spring other than maybe turkey hunting.
Yeah.
So this is a way of me getting out in the woods.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's just a cool way to get out in the woods. And it's just a good way for vegans to start hunting.
Yeah, for sure. I guess if you want to
want that whole experience, like where you go out and get something, but like you don't have to worry about meat. Like,
yeah,
start with foraging, I guess.
That's another thing. I guess hunting doesn't always get a bad name.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm hunting for mushrooms or hunting for ramps.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, it still is really hunting. I mean, there's a reason they don't call it. People always say, well, it's the reason it's called a fishing, not catching. I mean, there's a reason why it's called mushroom hunting and not mushroom finding by a lot of means.
Yeah, and if you disagree with that statement that, oh, that's not hunting, go out and look for morel mushrooms on your own, not with a guy who's been looking for them for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough out there.
It's really tough. And like, thing is, like, I mean, the thing that always gets me is like, I'm out there one day, walk a bunch, and I always think to myself, I was like, at these spots I walk, there's probably gonna be some tomorrow that I didn't walk, you know, just like, it's always like that back thought in my head to where like, I'm always wondering about what's gonna be out here tomorrow when I'm not here.
And it's weird too. Like you go to one set of woods, your favorite spot, and you always find mushrooms there. And then you go to a different spot and it's like same conditions, ton of dead elms, ground's moist, it's warm, but there's no mushrooms.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
No, I don't get it either because it feels just like ideal conditions. But I guess one last thing I talk about is like in the springtime, there's a lot of ticks out there.
Yeah, there is.
I've found quite a few ticks on me out there, and I'm sure you have too.
Don't kill possums.
Yeah, don't kill possums.
They eat tons of ticks. Look it up. They eat, I don't know what I saw, like 30,000 ticks a year.
Yeah, I mean, like I know every time you walk in the woods or I walk in the woods, we're always spraying like that DEET.
Yeah,
just like
I use 100% DEET, and it's really bad. It's really bad for your skin. If you are going to spray it on over clothes. Mm-hmm. Like I would recommend jeans out there. Don't go wearing shorts out into the woods.
Yeah,
and spray that DEET on from all the way from your boots up to your hips. Yeah, I wouldn't really say you don't have to spray much on your arms, but
yeah,
just walking through the woods, you might brush off a branch and it gets onto your pants or something.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely worth to note like that. Some of the people I know who are really hardcore about it, they wear actually like full sleeve white t-shirts.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to identify those ticks on you.
And I've been out when it's really bad.
Yeah.
That was the same day I found that turkey hunter, because we walked probably 100 yards across this like hayfield or something. Saw that turkey hunter. It ruined his hunt. It ruined our hunt.
Yeah.
So we're walking back and I looked down at my pants and swatted one tick. Looked at the other pant leg, swatted another tick. Looked down at my ankles. There's like 6 more ticks down there.
Yeah.
So we went back to his grandpa's place. And I went in the bathroom and took off my pants. They were inside my jeans.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. I've never had that many. Like usually when I have a tick encounter, it's like one, but never like that.
That was my craziest tick encounter. And they carry a lot of diseases, so watch out for those guys.
Yeah, there's just another thing to be conscious about. I mean, I'm not trying to scare anybody away by any means, but taking some of those extra precautions really do make the experience a lot more enjoyable.
It's definitely the things you can't see that'll get you.
Yeah, I definitely don't want. I mean, like, I'm not trying to say that every time you're going to go out there, you're going to get Lyme disease and eat a poisonous mushroom by any means.
No, but definitely if you're out in the woods in the springtime or even anytime, just go home, check all your crevices and have someone else run through your hair because they like to hide where it's warm.
Yep. I guess you have anything else to add, Ty? Or?
No, that's pretty much it. That pretty much covers what I know about foraging.
Yeah. So I guess be on the lookout for Ty's new blog coming out and some of the new content we have coming out with cooking videos when it comes to foraging season. And happy foraging, guys.
Yeah, happy foraging.
Thanks for listening.